Hey everyone, this is Bibi. Thank you for coming in and watching another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Venys Needs Men series. It's actually a pretty interesting series because it's written in the same universe, but some authors have 2 or 3 books in the series and they kind of interact with each other, but they each have their own spin on it. So it's really interesting to see what different authors would do with the same kind of premise. And so this is a series, you could kind of call it a shifter series because after the dragons become mated to a human, and in one case a mermaid, they do have a more humanoid form, but they still retain a lot of their dragon features. And so that's one of the things that all of the books have in common. Another thing is it takes place in a dystopian future where sometime about 1,000 years ago, this meteor came, and no one knows exactly how it happened, but a lot of the different populations, humans and some of the other different species, started having an increase in female births and a decline in male births. And the dragons had the opposite problem. They had an increase in male births and a decrease in female births. The comet also kind of creates like a mating frenzy for the dragons and a lot of the other creatures that are in this dystopian near Earth. Now, we do know it is Earth because the dragons are long-lived and they tell us it was Earth. We learned that there were large cities, there were larger populations of people, we had more advanced weaponry, probably similar to what we have right now. But at some point, probably due to survival, we let go a lot of that, and so they really only have spears and things like that during the present time in the stories. And the tribes are fairly small, like under 100 people or so. Harems are encouraged for the male humans because they need to have a continued generation for the populations. So you may only have 1 to 3 men in a tribe, and you may have 20 to 30 females. Now, the females, if they aren't mated to a human man by choice or from the females or from the men in particular, they can have relationships with other females in the tribes, and that's totally acceptable, which is really nice to see that they are willing to accept those relationships. So, the first author I read from the series was Tiffany Roberts, and she wrote To Tame a Dragon and also To Love a Dragon. And so the first story takes place, it's a little bit more of a enemies to lovers type of story where the comet came, it only comes about every 100 years, so no one in her village had ever seen the comet. They heard the dragon in the distance, and they really thought dragons were a myth, but it was passed down in the myth that if a human woman touched a dragon, the dragon would be mated to the human and bonded to her for the rest of their lives. So she was actually about to be betrothed to another man in the village, and she did not want to be with him. I can't blame her because this man was really spoiled and a jerk. Like, he would go ahead and have sex with his women wherever, whenever he wanted, and that was just acceptable. Not susceptible, but I guess the women kind of were susceptible. And she didn't want to be with him. The blood moon comes out, they see the comet, her mother is the head priestess. She announces that there's going to be the dragon hunt, and so she leaves. It's a really good introduction. All the stories are under 2 hours-ish to read, so how the characters get together and the different situations they encounter with the Tiffany Davis stories are really, really enjoyable. It's a really great way to start a series. And then we get into To Touch a Dragon by Naomi Lucas. And so Naomi Lucas also had To Mate a Dragon, and I guess that was the other one. I thought To Wake a Dragon. So she had 3 books in the series as well. And I went ahead and read To Touch a Dragon, and it was good. It was another spin on it in terms of how the dragons shift and things like that. The storytelling wasn't my favorite, but that's just kind of a personal preference, I think, because it does have over 4.5 stars with over 200 and almost 240 reviews. So obviously people like the series for Naomi Lucas. So you don't have to take my word for it. It's just my style of reading. It wasn't my favorite in the series, which I think is fine. The third author is Amanda Millos, and she wrote To Desire a Dragon and To Enchant a Dragon. And I believe that To Enchant a Dragon, if I'm remembering correctly, is where a dragon had swooped down to pick up a mermaid to eat, and he accidentally spooked them into the water. And so he dives into the water and captures her, and he didn't listen to what the elders had said, and he didn't fry her before he grabbed her. And so he didn't know it, but mermaids can be mated to a dragon too. So he got this unintentional mate, and it actually winds up really good for them, and they're both pretty happy with the situation. It's a pretty interesting perspective to do it from the mermaid, because they do come up in another book, but there isn't a lot of information on the mermaids. You just know that they're there. He also, for his new sisters-in-laws, goes and captures a whole bunch of other, what we would consider mythical creatures, but I guess in this dystopian future, they're all real. And so he makes sure that all of his sister-in-laws also have their own man, so that, you know, things are kind of cool. Everybody's happy. And then in her second book, To Desire a Dragon, there was one of his younger brothers had found her when she was a girl and when he was a young dragon, and he instantly kind of clicked with her, but his parents found out, forbid him from seeing her again, yada yada. Well, she ends up going and finding him. The village needs a protector because a different tribe had come along, stolen her brother, who was going to be promised to another tribe, so that they could keep exchanging males and keeping the bloodlines pure. So it is really nice to see that that piece, at least, of current information was kind of kept, and that they weren't doing any inbreeding. So she goes and finds the dragon, and it ends up being a really good relationship for her. And he actually goes and tricks all of his brothers, except the one who is mated to the mermaid, to come to the village and to get a human mate. And then I believe he went and found some other types of dragons also to get some human mates. But he made sure that all of the eligible women who wanted a mate could have one. So everybody was ecstatic about that, which is completely understandable. I don't think I've read To Seduce a Dragon by Poppy Rhys, so I'll have to make sure I go through and read her version of the Venys Needs Men series. Overall, I think it's a really great series. A lot of the women do a spectacular job going through and creating this universe, especially since I do think Tiffany Roberts' book, even though I've sorted it, I think that hers came first, although I could be completely wrong. So my final recommendations based on the type of books you want to read. So if you want more of the enemies to lovers, I would probably go with To Tame a Dragon by Tiffany Roberts in the series. If you want more of like a really sweet romance where it's kind of insta love, and I mean, if you read romances, you know you kind of have to go with some things. It's not meant to be exactly like real life. So for the sweet one, I would go with To Love a Dragon. And if you want something more along the humorous side, To Love a Dragon is humorous, but I think To Desire a Dragon and To Enchant a Dragon by Amanda Millo, those dragons in the series are like big puppies, and so it's really great. But anyways, thank you so much for coming today. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like it and subscribe. And until next time, have a great day.